Okay, here we are with session 5 on this series of little videos that we're using for web design students to learn how to do this text-only website. Now, even although it's text-only, I did think it would be appropriate to bring in a means of putting a background image in if you wanted to create a background image. Now, this is going to involve using a bit of an image editing program called Photoshop, and it may be that you want to you haven't become familiar with Photoshop, but this will give you a bit of a lead into it anyway, and it's something that any web developer is likely to need to use down the track. So I'll go ahead and do this. Now, right now we had the sample one that I provided here, and you'll notice in the sample version that I created that it has in fact got a background image to create this header here. The reason that we've got this graduated tone, even although this is possible to do in CSS with CSS3, a lot of browsers won't render that, so we'll do this in the old-fashioned way of putting a background image in that repeats along the x-axis. And here's the method of doing this. So I'm going to move into Photoshop now, and this is the rough example layout that I've done. So this is the wireframe, and anytime you're doing a layout, I do suggest that you have a bit of an idea of how you're going to set your layout up, and you may be getting the idea from other websites on how you're going to do your website, but in this case here, I've got the website kind of drafted up as a wireframe and how I want it to appear. Okay, I'm going to lock this layer here, or I'm going to just make a new layer here, in fact. So to make a new layer, I just click on the new layer icon, and this is where I'm going to put my information. And so I'm going to click and drag a shape here, so a rectangle, with the rectangle marquee tool. Notice as you move over these tools, it actually tells you what the tools are. So I'm just going to click and drag a rectangle here. And I might zoom in a little bit to see more clearly what we're doing here. Okay, and I can move that layer out of the way now. Now I want to fill this with color. If I just go up to my swatches here, I could just fill it with a dark red color. So I could just go choose the color. My foreground color now is that dark red color. I can go up to Edit, Fill, and with the foreground color. And you can see there the foreground color appears like that. But what I want to do actually is put a graduated tone in there. So instead I'll go to this gradient tool here, and now I'll make it go from that dark red to I'll choose this point here as a lighter red. Maybe a bit different from that. Maybe down here somewhere. Okay, that's a pretty subtle gradient, but nevertheless that'll do us. Okay, and I'll go okay with that. And now to put the gradient in here, I just click on the bottom here with my gradient tool selected and drag with my shift key held down, and you can see that's making a nice even gradient there. Now I'll just minimize this. To deselect the top part of this, I want to make that black band at the bottom. So I hold down my Alt key on the PC. If you're on a Mac, it will be your Option key. And I'll make my black band about that size. So I've deselected part of that rectangle by holding down the Alt key and using the rectangular marquee tool. I'll change my foreground color now to black, and now again I'll go up to the Fill menu here and go Edit, Fill, and Fill with foreground color again, and now we've got that part as black. Now if I go to my Layer menu here, I can hold down the Control key, click on this icon, and I select the whole rectangle again. And you probably didn't notice, but at the very top of that other selection, I had a tiny little strip of darker color just to make it look more interesting. So again, I'm going to hold down my Alt key with the rectangular marquee tool to subtract from the selection and have just a tiny little bit at the top here as my bit that I'm going to fill with the darker red. So I'll go down here and get a nice dark red like that, and again go up to Fill, foreground color, and now if I deselect, so I go up to the select menu and tell it I want to deselect. And I'll switch off the lower layer here so you can see what this is looking like now. So we've got a fairly satisfactory background strip here. But for our purposes, for the needs of our website, we only need a tiny little strip. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all the bits I don't need. So again, I'm going to go to my layers panel here. I'm going to hold down my control key. I'm going to copy this item I've got now and make a new file. And I'm going to call it, let me just go back to my code here briefly, and I'll just check what I actually called the background image for the sidebar. So here I called it headerbg.gif. So that name there I need to actually give to my new image here that I'm creating. So I'll call it header. So I'll paste that in here, headerbg, and OK. And now when I paste, I've copied that to the clipboard. No, I haven't. I need to actually copy that. So copy, edit, copy, and then I'll go to the other file, the headerbg, and edit, paste. And then I want to get rid of the underlying layer here. So actually you can't see that when I do that. So I'm going to go up to layer. Well, you can't see this either, but at the bottom of this thing it says flatten layers. The flatten layers is available from both those menus. So, and now we've got the flattened image that we want, and now I'm going to go up to image canvas size, I beg your pardon. Change these variables from centimeters to pixels, and I want this to be, no, sorry, I'm going to first of all go to image size because I want this to be 100 pixels high. You might remember in the code here that this said height 100 pixels for the header, and so I'm going to make it 100 pixels high, and if I just click on in there and type in 100 pixels, it's going to resize this whole thing to 100 pixels high. And now I want to just get a sliver of this, so I've got my canvas size here, change it from centimeters to pixels, and I only want about 2 pixels width, so I'm going to change the width to 2 pixels and leave the height at 100 pixels. And now we're going to end up with, it's giving me a warning here, but we're going to end up with this tiny little file, and that's all I really want. And so I'm going to save that for web and devices. Save for web and devices, come on baby. Yeah, and we want it as a GIF. And this might be a little bit hard to see on the video, but anyway, you'll get the idea here. GIF we want. And I'm going to, you don't actually see me saving this because the dialogue's too big to fit in the video, unfortunately, but I'll save it. And I'll save it to a directory where it's going to be found. I'll just put it on my desktop. So, and you can't see this dialogue properly. So I'm just going to put it on the desktop, save the file headerbg, and it automatically puts that GIF extension on it. And now when I go back to my code, it's looking for this background header GIF. If I now go back to my website, my browser, let me see if that's actually automatically gone in there now, and it has. So you can see that we've got the background image. Now what's happening with that background image? Let's just go back to the code again and just work out what's going on there. It's saying background, find that image. That's that little tiny 2 pixel image, which is very efficient, and it's saying repeat on the x-axis, which means it's going to go from left to right, and you can see how effective that is in putting in a background image. So that's all for that video, and I think that might be the series. Yeah, that'll do us. Okay, over and out. Bye bye.